Hello, everyone. Welcome to Money, Sex, and God. You're watching a live recording of the Money, Sex, and God podcast. And I bring on some of my favorite humans, some experts in various fields of creation, people that have really mastered the game of money, sex, and God. And today I have a really awesome guest who's a dear friend of mine, someone I love hanging out with. So I can't wait to get to know him even deeper on today's podcast. He's really a global filmmaker, musician, other epic projects that I'm sure I don't even know about that he has under his wing. And I'm going to go ahead and introduce you to Jamie Catto. And just before I turn the mic over to him, I want to mention that we're going to be doing a Q&A in my Facebook group called the Pleasure Circle in just about 20 minutes. So if you want to speak with him live, like jump on camera, get on live, you get to do that in 20 minutes in the Pleasure Circle. So without further ado, Jamie, thanks so much for coming on to my show.
Yeah, come on.
Yay. Yay. I'm so happy to have you here. I'm really curious about, you seem to create nowadays with such ease. You seem to play the game with such ease and it's like almost like fun to watch, right? How you're just like, I'm going to do this now. Now I'm going to do this. Now I'm going to do this. And I can relate to that. But I wonder about, what was little Jamie like? Did you have moments when the creations were really challenging?
Yeah, I was talking about this the other day. It's quite funny, when I was at school, I was a real problem. Academically, I was like bottom or second bottom of every class. My best friend was like absolutely like the top of everything, and captain of school, captain of cricket, captain music scholar,
And you were
And
the
they were
like
like,
the
don't hang out
underneath.
with, yeah, don't hang out with captain. And they were quite violent in my school. They'd pick you up and you'd whack you around. These were in the days, they were pretty nasty. And I was treated with like a huge amount of disdain, because I just was not part of the sort of conformist. I couldn't help myself really. I was just like, I couldn't, if there was something in the room that you weren't meant to say, that everyone was like keeping a secret, we don't talk about this. It was almost like my Tourette's or my spectrumy Asperger's or something. I couldn't help say it, I
Mhm.
couldn't live in the fakeness. My mum said to me, you just love doing the opposite of what everyone else would do. And I was like, you know what? I've really gone into this. I didn't want to do the opposite of what everyone else wanted to do. I just didn't want to do things which insulted my soul. I just couldn't go along with bullshit. It made me feel claustrophobic. Anyway, so when I left school, I didn't go to university. I went straight into sort of being a runner I was the animation runner on this movie, Who Framed Roger Rabbit. I was very kindly given this job to run around London with all the animation cells and the paints and stuff. And when I entered this job, they just treated me with just average ambivalence. You know how they treat runners. They just, one thing you'll never hear on a movie set is, oh, don't send the runner out, it's raining. You're never going to hear anything they treated me with average, don't give a fuck ambivalence, right? But
Right.
to me, from how I had been treated before, it was such a step up that I
Hmm.
thought, these people fucking love me. And I just like started really, I was so encouraged, and I excelled so much that all my projects from then on, just like I had this incredible confidence. Also, another thing that gave me a lot of confidence was actually, which is a sad thing, was that my best friend died when I was 20. The person I'd spent every kind of half term, every holidays, everything with for years and years and years. And as tragic as it was when he died on his motorbike, something happened that day that was like I was given a hall pass. Like no one could expect anything from me that anymore. Like I was the guy whose best friend had died, so you can't fucking tell me shit. Like I've been through this heavy thing. I can do whatever the fuck, anything I do, it won't surprise you. Like I can just do anything, and it like suddenly all conforming or all expectations or all kind of like ways that people could tell me off or bully me or manipulate me or control me were just gone from that moment. I like I said, I had like a hall pass to do whatever I wanted. And I think the combination of those two things, and also just being a white privileged male, let's not forget about that. Like I
Yeah.
went to one of the most expensive schools in the world, and I expect when I open my mouth that people should listen, and that's just like a pure privileged white male. I've had every advantage that a human can have. I've got charisma, good looks, rhythm, Just kidding. But you know, like I've had it easy as far as culturally, you know, I'm not a woman of color who's had to fight every obstacle. Do you know what I mean? I've had a huge amount of privilege as well on top of the things I just told you about. So yeah, I've had it pretty lucky.
Yeah. And did you always have this ability to kind of feel spirit moving you, to feel your soul guiding you, or did that develop
Yeah.
after you had the confidence to just do whatever the fuck you wanted, or what was it
Strangely,
like?
I've always had it. I
Mm.
remember as a very young boy, earlier than 10, thinking to myself, I'm thinking, I'm a person. I'm here. I
I
wonder
used
if
to do the same thing all the time,
I wonder if
totally.
other people are thinking and feeling that there is presence, there is conscious. I wonder if everyone gets that we're here. Like I can't even like I didn't even. And
Yeah.
I used to like practice magic when I was little, like that I could
Yeah.
make a clock hand stop going round, and it worked a few times. It was like, and I scared the shit out of myself. And other moments like that of like trying magic out and yeah. And I
Yeah.
think there was another moment which is really weird, because my dad was quite absent and not the cuddliest, most attentive guy. But there was this one moment in my childhood where it was the first time I'd have really felt spirituality, strangely. And I'd been left alone in the house, and it was Easter weekend, and everyone was doing whatever they were doing. You know, they didn't
Uh-huh.
really attend to the kids very much where I grew up. You know, you just were left to.
Right.
And
Right.
so I was watching Jesus of Nazareth on the weekend, and they had this sort of 8-hour special of this whole story of Jesus of Nazareth with this amazing British glassy-eyed actor called Robert Powell. And I was a little Jewish boy. I'd never heard the story of Jesus, and I just fell head over heels in love with this Jesus character. It was my first absolute heart-bursting love I ever felt in my life was for this Jesus character. No, there was no religion or anything. It was a movie as far as I was concerned. But being a little Jewish boy, I had no idea what was coming at the end of the story. And so when he got betrayed and then abused and then murdered, I was far too young to experience this unprepared. I was like totally traumatized and freaked out. I was like sobbing, like totally beside myself. The person I just fallen in love with, I just seen murdered. And I was just looking all over the house for like something for a grown-up to tell them what I'd seen. Like, did they know about this? And I found my dad, who you wouldn't normally think would be the person that would be good to find at a moment like that. You know, he's like dismissive, disattached, you know. And unbelievably, like God came through for me in that moment. Like he looked at me, he could see the state I was in. And he looked at me and he went, you know what, Jamie? It really says something about what a beautiful boy you are that you would react that way to what you just saw. And I think that was one of the most important trajectory moments of my whole life, that my sensitivity was upheld in that moment, and the intensity of my experience of the rawness of life was upheld in that moment. And they say that your relationship with your mother will be reflected therapeutically in your relationship with your body, and your relationship with your father will be your relationship out in the world. And
Right.
I think something happened that day that made me comfortable out in the world.
That's so, it makes me think so much of Tantra and Tantra teachings, that there's this, I mean, so for me, for example, I can't watch movies. This is crazy, but if I watch a movie, I'll literally think that I'm inside of the movie for the next week and a half. Like I just watched Hustlers, about the strippers at the I don't know if you've seen it. I was on a plane for 8 hours. I was like, fuck it, I'm gonna watch a movie. And I still feel like I'm in that fucking movie. I walk down the street and I'm like, I am a stripper. Like it is very, and so if I see violence or if I see pain or if I watch that, it would take me weeks to unravel. Like I'd cry, I'd sob, I'd feel. And they speak about this in Tantra, that in our society, we've desensitized ourselves so much. And I'm not
There's
saying
also
movies are
something,
bad, but right. I mean,
yeah.
like, yeah.
There's also something about that, not that I am going to give you an unasked for diagnosis, but when we talk about people who have avoidant attachment styles, it's not because they don't want to be around. it's because they're so spongy and they actually have much less boundaries. They're so sensitive that they get engulfed if they get too close. So they have
Right.
to keep pulling away, not because they don't love you, but because if they stay too close, or like you're saying, be in the movie, if they get too close, they actually can lose themselves because they start merging and melting into whoever they're with. So that's why they need to be avoidant, not
Yeah.
because they're mean or they're escapist, but because they actually have spongy kind of boundaries that mean they like you enmesh with the movie, you
Mhm.
enmesh with your partner. So that makes sense to me, what you just said.
Yeah. And as I think as artists, right? As my father's an artist, I was raised in kind of an artist family. I was kind of raised to know that that type of sensitivity is applauded, right?
Mm,
That when we see violence on the screen, we should cry. We should
mm.
feel the terror. We should go into the fear, and then we transmute it. For him it was through his music, right? We could transmute it through whatever it is. So I'm curious, as an artist for you, do you, and I love asking these questions to artists because I think that's fascinating. Like, do you feel like you get most of your juice from interactions with people? Or do you get most of your juice when you're alone, just like you and God or you and spirit? Or is like, how does it work for you? What's your
Yeah, I
mechanism?
think I get my initial juice alone when I get my first, I want to do something like this.
Mm,
And then I get my doing juice with other people. So I get my yin juice with spirit, where I just get on one. Like I had a recent thing. I just started an album recently called All Heart, which we've been
mm,
recording in Greece, and I realized that I was making a lot of melancholy music recently. Like that, I made an album which is on Sounds True called Music for Dissolving, and very
mm,
beautiful. A lot of yearning, a lot of longing. It's just it'll make you weep. It's beautiful. But then I
mm.
just suddenly realized I was like over glamorizing the longing and the melancholy. Like I had some sort of special person's complex about, look what a wounded healer I am. And I was like, you know what? I'm fucking done with that now. I don't want to make music for longing anymore. I want to make music for fucking having. So I suddenly had this big epiphany that I don't want to do longing now. I want to do having. I want to do
Mm,
joyful jumping around, like the celebration of having, not waiting. So that kind of big moment of inspiration of
uh-huh,
yes, that feels true, I want to do that, was a alone moment with me and the creator or whatever.
uh-huh.
Then I call up a few people. I go, hey, look, I want to do this album which is all about having and longing and joy and mad shepherds and Tinari and electric guitars. And then they go, yeah, because I need these guys. Like I'm technic to make an album. When I make an album, I technically, I don't know how to do anything. I can play the keyboard parts and the guitar, I can sing, but I don't know how to put it all together. And so
Mhm.
I have to be the guy saying more like this, less like that. No, it needs to go like this. No, I'm verbally directing it, but someone else is actually sitting at the computer or at the mixing desk doing the doing. So
Mm.
the yang part of me gets off with other people.
Huh. That's wild.
And yeah, the yin part of me comes up with the great inspiration, and the yang part of me works with others to actually hammer the nails into the wood.
Mm.
And that collaborative, joyful, I always get very turned on. I don't know what movie, I think there was a movie, Harrison Ford movie, where there was these Amish people in it, but there's this scene where they all, the village, when this couple get married, the whole village build them a barn.
Mm.
I want more of that in my life.
Mm.
I want community making together, like I want us all to make a barn together. I want us to all build things together. Like, I've recently connected with what was my ex-girlfriend is now my girlfriend again, Danica,
Yeah.
who's very, very eloquent, articulate, soulful woman, very into sort of deep ecology and community and
Mm. I
and
can feel
folk
her
music.
heart. You speaking about her, I can feel her heart
Yeah,
just
she's
popped in.
fucking awesome,
Yeah.
and she's very like collaborative and like also really yearning and aching for this sense of community where we can all be there together, building and making and planting. And so I really yearn for that right now. That sense of community. I spend so much time by myself.
I had a drop in like maybe 3, 4 months ago because I'm the opposite as you. I get an idea when I'm watching a group or when I'm in a group, and then I disappear. I almost feel like this strange little squirrel. I like have to like take all my shit and like go back to the nuts and like, and I work away. And if anyone interrupts me, I want to like smack them. Right? There's this like very enclosed space, and then I present it out after that. Um,
Mm,
but which is why community collaboration is more difficult for me. Like I'll pop in and pop out of it
mhm.
like this, but and I think it's so beautiful to just know your rhythm, right? To just know what is your rhythm? How can you give your gift the most to the world, right?
Mm-hmm.
But what I noticed is that this new wealth, and it might be me being idealistic, but it feels very, very real. And I can really feel it in my heart that this new wealth that's coming after the chaos and death of 2020 can only be done in community. Like it feels
I
like,
think that could be true. It's like the incubation bit where we've all been isolated into social distancing and isolation and lockdown probably is pulling the arrow back so that when they lift it, everyone's going to run into each other's arms and go, "Where have you been?" Yeah, it's going to be a massive orgy of recross-pollination.
That's my hope. And and wealth, if you think about wealth in general, because money, sex, and God are the things I love to talk about here, right? Like we think about money, we think about wealth. It's created in community. You can't just sit there and gain money on your own, sitting back and doing nothing. Like it's an interactive space, right? So
Mm-hmm.
that's why I think it's like throwing it around, the
I'm a
beauty of
big
that.
believer in that. And my friend Duncan, who I make One Giant Leap with, he
Yeah,
has a great theory about, obviously the consolidation and gathering together of too much wealth is what's fucking up the planet.
totally.
So his whole thing is reverse bank interest. Is that when you put money in the bank, the longer you leave it in there, it starts diminishing, not growing. So you
That's
have to spend it.
great.
You have to keep it. You have to keep it moving.
Uh-huh.
And then more and more people getting paid to do different things, and then it keeps circulating because energy needs to circulate.
Right.
That's what I find. If I wake up anxious, which I do a lot sometimes, like especially being back in a relationship with a woman, my inner child attachment stuff, like,
Yeah.
oh, it's so scary being in love. Fuck, I find it so frightening.
Yeah.
So I often wake up in the morning like, where's my mummy? Like sort of,
Yeah.
and but if I move, that a lot of that is from the stagnation. If I lie very still and curl up into a ball, it will last longer. But if I get on the yoga mat, put on some hip hop, and just jump around like a freak and just shake and get in the shower, if I give it some movement, the body is very, very good at recalibrating it and dissolving the adrenaline and getting it moving. It's
Totally.
taken me so long to know that, or rather, I've always known it, but I've never really kind of applied it. Like I am so like I want to curl up into a ball and go under the duvet and hide. It takes a lot for me to make myself move, even though I know it will work and I know it will halve the pain. For some reason, the stagnation wants to stagnate even more. I like.
Yeah. Yeah.
And it's the same with starting creative work. It's like, I don't want to do it. I don't want to do it. But the moment I loosen the ketchup top, the moment I start, I don't want to stop. It's all about beginning, getting the initial movement going. And that's why, like, when I wrote my book, Insanely Gifted, I tricked myself into writing it. Is like, I just promised myself I would write it 5 minutes a day. That was my writing schedule. You only have to do 5 minutes. If you just do 5 minutes every day. But obviously, once you've done 5 minutes, you've already started.
Going.
It's like a stupid trick, but it really, really works. If you're a procrastinator or you can't get your creative project going, just do it for 5 minutes. And it's amazing how it loosens up the cogs.
Yeah. Same with sex. Right. Same with sex. So sex to me is about moving energy. The reason that it's so important is because it's moving energy, and good sex moves the energy. When, a lot of people come to me and they're like, everything just like, it just falls down and nothing's happening. And it's like, well, yeah, then one of you has to move the energy. Who wants to do it? Maybe both of you. I don't know. But that's that kind of like feeling that people get a lot especially in long-term relationships, where they just feel like the gunk, right? And that to me is why I'm always saying sex, more sex, more sex, more sex, because it's a really fun fucking way to move energy. You don't have to do it that way. You can do it a whole bunch of ways, right? Tell me a little, we'll end on this. Give us a little bit about how sex has played a role or a part in kind of your evolutionary journey, your journey of finding you, of your spiritual game, of
I think that it's one of the first areas where my big thing at the moment is I don't want to be, when I was a child, I had to do something amazing to get love. Like, you didn't just get love, you got love if you did well in a test, or you said something funny, or you had to sort of earn it. You had to do something amazing. And so I've always been kind of, in my early life, very performance, like I've got to be the best lover, I've got to blow you away, I've got to da 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 da. And I'm really like, at the moment, I only want to be with people who love me for being ordinary. I want, it's my ordinariness. I don't want to have to work it. I don't want to have to persuade you. I don't want to have to exert myself to win love, you know? And so like lovemaking, there's this beautiful book by Diane Richardson that I'm sure you've come across called Slow Sex.
Yeah.
Like, I just want to slow the whole thing down and just, can we just be ordinary creatures? And it doesn't have to be the great fireworks of Bethlehem every fucking time. Can we just enjoy just staying still together, or moving a bit? But it doesn't matter if so-and-so came too quickly, or so-and-so wasn't hard enough, or so-and-so wasn't wet enough, or so-and-so boob was sort of hanging over to the, can we just relax?
Yeah.
And sex is just like a really poignant area where I just would love us all, especially myself, to just relax.
Yeah.
Can we just be with the soft, imperfect, perfect creatures that we are, and just take off the performance and the stigma and the airbrush and the Instagram and the tantric fucking people who are so like busy being special. Danica showed me this article recently, was like, a free man won't let you da 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 da, a free man won't let you whine and da da da, and if he's really free you won't be able to. Like, fucking can't, you don't know shit. Take your dogma and your angry bossy bullshit somewhere else. Stop giving me the lists of what a man will really do if he really loves you, and if he really this and you'll really just shut the fuck up with all this you know better bullshit. We are all a mess, and the messiness and the imperfection and the laughter and the, just to take away all the pressure, that's where sex mirrors life for me.
Beautiful. So well said. I could keep going, but I want to switch us over. So those of you that are watching this, if you're watching live, come join Jamie and I in the pleasure circle. We're going to do a Q&A now in there. So
do I have to go somewhere else?
We have to go somewhere else. I'll see you on the next link.
Will you send me another link?
I will.
Okay, I'm ready.
Bye.
Hit me.